Let's make the alternate rib hat by KB Looms. Welcome back to another GoodKnitKisses tutorial. I'm your host, Kristen. Let's get started. Today we're working on the alternate rib hat on the KB Loom. This is the rotating double knit loom by KB Looms. Go to kblooms.com to get yours. And we are set up for double knitting today. Thank you so much to KB Looms. You will also need your loom hook. You'll need a crochet hook to get the edging of your cast on and anchor yarn done. Speaking of which, you're just going to need a little bit of scrap contrasting yarn for some anchor yarn, a tapestry needle to weave in those ends, an optional stitch marker for marking that first peg, and of course your yarn. We are working with Knit Picks Preciosa Tonal, and I'm using color Anemone, and they are using color Canary in the pattern. This is a number 4 medium worsted weight yarn. It's 100% merino wool. I would use a number 4 medium worsted weight yarn for yours. This one works up beautifully. So let's get right into the pattern. We'll be working on the main stitch pattern, but I will show you how to cast on. We'll be going through the rib stitch and the alternate rib stitch. So click on the link in the description below to download your free pattern from KB Looms. Let's get started. Okay, so we've got your pattern. It's the alternate rib hat, and you can see we're working with the rotating double knit loom. The stitches are a rib, an alternate rib. The yarn and the notions are mentioned, which we've already looked over, and the size is an average adult size. So this is what this pattern is going to look like. I'm going to show you how to cast on and then the main rib stitch, and then I will show you how to alternate the rib and the alternate stitch to get this main pattern up here. There are some of the things that you'll be doing on your own. This is a technique video, but it will get you all the main stitches that you need. We will go over the entire pattern. In the instructions, we'll talk about placing your stitch marker and making your cast on row, laying in your anchor yarn, and then I will work you through round 1. You will continue working that rib stitch until the end of the round, and then we will work on the alternate rib on round 9, and we'll work to the end of the round, and then you will repeat back and forth between those two, and so that will get you the main stitch pattern that you need. And then we will talk about how to cast off after that and finish it up. Also found in your pattern is the rib stitch in very graphic photographs. I love how they've written this up. This shows you very clearly what to do, but the video will help cement that if you need to see it moving. And flip over to the next page and it shows you the alternate rib as well. So this is the alternate rib stitch on the second page, and then the first page is working on the main rib stitch. Now it is a second color on the next page, just to clarify between the rib stitch and the alternate rib stitch. All right, so let's begin working on this. Let's make the stockinette stitch cast on. You're going to go to your beginning round here. You're going to go to the very beginning where there is an arrow. Your inner loom should also have an arrow lining and matching up. It's harder to see on camera, so I'm going to put a stitch marker here. Again, you don't need one. You can just look at that arrow. That is just fine. Start by your beginning yarn and getting a slip knot. We are working with this one today. Make a slip knot however is easier for you. Place that tail inside and place the slip knot on your first peg and tighten that up. Okay. And if you went straight back where the arrow is, that would be your number 1 peg on the inside of the loom. And the number 1 peg on the outside is the one with the arrow here. We're going to skip the first peg on the inside and we're going to go to number 2. Okay, so we go around that, and then we're going to go to 3 on the outside and go around the front of that and then to the back, and we're going to go on to 4. So we are skipping every other peg on the front and back looms. On the front it'll be all the odd numbers, on the back it'll be all the even numbers. It doesn't really matter what the number is, just skip as you go along. Once you get started, you're just fine. Go all the way around the loom, working back and forth, no twisting. And pause your video as you need. Meet me back up when you get to the beginning and we'll work on the second round of wrapping. See you in a moment. All right, we're coming to the beginning here, and I've got my last peg that would be right next to where that inside loom has an arrow. We're going to wrap around that peg, come forward to the very last peg before the arrow on the outer loom. Okay, so we're going to wrap around that one. So we have 3 wraps in a row here. And then we're going to go to the first peg on the inner loom and wrap around that one. Now you're just simply picking up every other peg that was not wrapped the round before. Go ahead and wrap those empty pegs, and then you'll push all the loops down after you do that. Pause your video and I'll meet you in a moment. All right, so we're coming to the end. I've got that last peg that I'm wrapping on that inner loom. It's the last one that's empty. And now I need to come all the way down to where my first peg is here. So we're going to go on the outer loom between the last peg and the first peg, and then let our yarn lay down. Push that down if you haven't done it already. Okay, we're going to lay in our anchor yarn. I'm going to take my scrap piece of yarn, go around in between these 2 looms and lay it right in here. Okay, you don't need a very long piece. This is about an arm's length. And then I'm just going to tie a nice loose knot here and work down between my stitches. Make sure that stays on. And a crochet hook can help pull this through. So I'm going to put my crochet hook up between these pegs here and pull down. And this anchor yarn is going to be used in the end. Okay, so I've got the anchor yarn in. I don't have to worry about that anymore. It'll be used later. We are now ready to begin our rib stitch. We've finished our cast on row and anchor yarn, and we're going to work that rib stitch starting with the starter peg at the beginning of round 1. So we will go around the first peg, and then we will go around the third peg. So straight across 1, 2, 3 of that inner loom. Go all the way down and then come straight across and go around the third peg on the outer loom. So we have done this. We've gone around peg 1 and then skipped peg 1 and 2 on the back, and then we've gone around peg 3. And then now we're coming straight down and around peg 3 on the outer loom here. Then we're just going to be picking up every other peg as we've done before. So skip down and the back, that back peg, and then skip the other one into it in front. And I'll show you, I'll rotate my loom so you can see it. So you'll be rotating, and you'll be skipping every other one on this outer row and every other one on this inner row. Continue going all the way around. Pause your video and meet me when you get back to this beginning peg. See you soon. Okay, we're down to where the starter peg is. We will be picking up this second to last stitch before the starter peg that's on the outer loom. Go back, and if you skip on the next peg, you are picking up the very first peg with an arrow on it across from your starter peg on the inner loom. So go around that one. And now, because we already have one picked up on that starter peg, you're picking up the next empty one, which is peg number 2 on the outer one. Now go straight back to peg number 2 on that inner loom, and if you see, it didn't have one wrapped before, so now we're wrapping it. So you have these two on the pattern. It says consecutive, but technically you have to go around this front one first, but these two loops here have just recently been wrapped. So you go wrap here, then here, then here. Okay, and now you're picking up every other loop because it is all the ones that you did not wrap before. Okay, so continue picking up all the ones that you did not wrap before. Pause your video and meet me back up at the end. Coming to the end, and we're going to pick up the very last peg on the outer and then the inner loom, and then bring your yarn forward so that it is in front of that starter peg again. And now we can start hooking over, knitting over all of these stitches. I recommend knitting over the outside loom or the inside of the loom first in order to get those on there nice and even. I turn mine around and get the one that we just looped over, the one that we just did, so that very last peg here on the inner loom, and then now it is locked into place, and you can start hooking over all of these. So just start going around. You can start back here and lift up and over, knitting that round. When you've completed this inner loom, then hook over or knit over the outside loom. And that will complete one rib stitch round. Pause your video and I'll meet you back as soon as you're done. See you soon. All right, to continue working that rib stitch, you are just going to repeat round 1 until you've got 8 rounds made, or the desired brim that you would like. This one is 8 rounds. So just as a reminder, you're going to go around the first peg, skip the first 2 pegs on the inner loom, and then go around the 3rd peg on the outer loom, and now skip every other peg, picking those up. When you come around to the beginning, then you will just finish picking up the rest of those pegs and then hook over, and then you will be completed with another round. So pause your video, rewind the video if you need more help, or to pause or slow down, and I will see you when you are ready to pick up the alternate rib stitch. See you soon. Once you're ready with moving on to the alternate rib stitch, I want to show you a way to mark what your next stitch should be. So we're going to be working back and forth between the rib stitch, which you just completed, and the alternate rib stitch. If you know that the rib stitch is next that you need to complete after completing an alternate rib stitch, and you need to put this work down, remember we started with a peg 3 in the back. So I'm just working with some elastics. These are stitch holders with elastics. You can use one whole elastic. I just don't have a large enough one. So I'm going to go to the 1, 2, 3 peg and put it here, and then kind of work my way over in this direction with my elastic. So I know I'm moving in this direction here, and I've started with the 3rd peg over, and I'm just marking that this is where I need to start. So I need to start working with a 3rd peg over to make the rib stitch. So now let's go on to the alternate rib stitch, and I'll begin it, and then I'll show you how you could mark that you need to start with that next time if you want to be able to mark how to begin with the next round. That's just one way to do it. So we're going to go down to this first peg again like we had done before, okay, and we go up to the 2nd peg. All right, so we go up to the 2nd peg over. You're still skipping that first peg in the inner loom, and then go down again to the 2nd peg. So it's all about the 2nd pegs on this alternate round. We go around that 2nd peg on the outer loom, and then we go up and we start skipping again. So we start going around, and you skip on this inner loom, you skip a peg, and you go here, and then you go around here to the front and skip again, and around and skip. Okay, so you're going to go every other one, and pause your video and meet me back up for the 2nd wrapping of the alternate rib stitch. See you soon. All right, we've completed the first pass of wrapping for the alternate rib stitch. I'm on the last peg of the outer loom. I go to the first peg of the inner loom here. Okay, wrap around that one and come down, and we're going to skip the first peg and 2nd peg on the outer loom and go to the 3rd peg, and we're just picking up now all the stitches that we had skipped before. So go straight back to the 3rd peg that was missed the previous time, and now you're just picking up all the empty pegs as you go. Okay, so you just continue wrapping and knitting over, and then you alternate to go on to the rib stitch after you do the alternate stitch. So let me back up and show you how you would mark after you've completed this round and then you complete a rib round. How would you mark this to know that I'm gonna need to start an alternate round when I pick my knitting back up? Well, I'm gonna bring my elastics back out again. I'm gonna come over to this second loop here, and I'm gonna come straight down from the second loop and go around a couple of these elastics. So I know that this elastic on the back round here, that's that peg I need to start with. So this is my way of indicating where it is. You can also write it on your printed out paper or on any of these scrap notes, but this is how I'm going to note it. Let's jump ahead to where you can see the knitting coming out and revealing the pattern. I'm going to turn my loom over to the side, and you can see about 2 inches or so of a ribbed edging, okay, this brim, and then you can see this pattern coming through this alternate rib, the rib with the alternate rib, and it's got a really pretty pattern to it. So you're going to continue on this until you get your desired length. In this case, for this pattern, it's continue until from the bottom measures 8 to 8.5 inches all the way up to the top here, and then we are going to bind off. Now I'm not going to do that in this video, but I am going to walk you through it. So you need to be on your pattern on page 2, and it talks about this. Once you're ready to bind off, you're going to move the loops from the inner loom here to the outer loom here, so that each peg on the outer loom has 2 loops on it. Then you're going to hook over or knit over all those loops, and so you're going to continue with 1 loop all the way around. Then you're going to cut off your yarn. You can just measure around the distance with your working yarn around the circumference of the loom, and it's about 16 to 20 inches of yarn that you need. And then you will cut that off and use your tapestry needle, and then you will lift through all of the loops that remain on your loom, pull it off, and sew up the end. Then you'll need to address the anchor yarn. So if you've never worked with this anchor yarn before, there are some videos on it on KB channel as well as GoodKnitKisses. But just a real quick, this is why you need your crochet hook. I suggest leaving the tail spot alone and go directly to where our yarn starts right after that tail, and you look for that first loop where this anchor yarn is. You go to that very first loop, stick your hook in, and then go into the next loop right next to it, and then you lift the back loop over the front loop, and then continue. Go to the next loop and lift the back loop over the next loop. Continue, lift the back loop over the next loop. And of course, this is when it's off the loom. When you get all the way around to this last loop, then you will pull this tail all the way through, and then you'll use your tapestry needle again to weave that in. This is a reversible fabric. It looks the same on inside and out. You can see that on the other side. Totally reversible, a very nice hat, a lovely design. We hope you've enjoyed making your alternate rib hat and stitching technique. So if you like this stitching pattern and you want to make something other than a hat, we'd love to see it. Be sure and post it on the GoodKnitKisses page or KB Looms so that we can see it and share it and love on it with you. On behalf of the Knitting Board and GoodKnitKisses, I'm your host, Kristen, wishing you happy loom knitting. Bye-bye.